Thank you very much. Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm just before lunch, so I see a bunch of people leaving. So hopefully, I just want to say thank you for everybody who stayed, and hopefully I'll say something interesting, actually give you something you can take back into your organizations as you go back to work tomorrow, and leave you with something to talk about. So just a little bit about me and why I'm up here. I've been, as was said in the intro, been building trust in financial services for 25 years. I'm the CEO of two companies. BizCubed, which is the main reason I'm here today, is a data engineering and operations firm. And we focus on how to help organizations get their data in order so that they can outcompete in the marketplace. And then the second company that is more recent is Pix Global, and that's a firm that is built around the idea of trust architecture as a emerging way to solve some of the existential issues we're facing globally. And I'm going to put the two concepts together today to really talk about how financial services can build trust in society. And the first thing I want to say is, it's kind of an obvious thing, but financial services are offering trust products. I give you my money, and I trust that I will get it back at some point in the future under the terms that we've agreed to. And so that's obvious to everybody here, but it sometimes needs to be restated. So the next thing I'm going to sort of go is a little bit of history and sort of give you a sort of a 25-year journey. There we go. I need to push the button harder. So a 25-year journey of building trust in financial services. So I started my career in New York working for a Fortune 50 financial services company, and where I ended up was working in the compliance department and helping build the systems that would allow us to move from a mutual company to a public company. And one of the things that we needed to do to enable that move was we needed to address a risk profile issue that we had in our organization because we had been done for a very large class action lawsuit in the mid-90s. It was the largest in the US at the time, and what had happened is we had the organization had inappropriately sold some products to some customers, and we had to make right. And part of making that right is we had to assert to the regulators that it would never happen again. And I was part of the compliance team that was building the systems, the process, the checks, the balances, the very detailed audit programs to ensure that we could assert to the regulator on a quarterly basis that we no longer had that inappropriate sales practice problem inside the organization. The challenge with that is, or one of the way we did that initially, is we built a big mainframe data warehouse. It wasn't called a data warehouse at the time, but it was, in hindsight. And we put all of the transactions into the single system, and we were able to look on an annual basis at all the transactions that were in a particular sales office. We'd ship boxes of paper into our operations center in the middle of Pennsylvania, and somebody would comb through every transaction in the sales office and highlight the ones that the auditor would go out to the sales office to do. Now, what that meant is we had moved risk from the sales office and from the interaction we had with the customer to head office. And as we looked to list and become a public company, we wanted to actually manage that risk and move it closer to the customer, and also do a better job of serving the customer. Because not only did we need to help the reps have the right tools to offer the correct products, we needed to help the rep also document that they were showing the correct things to the customer and build that story up. And that needed to exist right in front of the customer so that everybody was confident in what they were buying and the rep was confident in what they were selling. And this was a massive program of work. But not only that, we had to then audit the move and build that out. And what we ended up doing is, I implemented my first large machine learning model back in 2001 to pick the customers we'd call after the fact to make sure that the documentation we were seeing from the reps was also what the customer understood. So we had built up this multi-layered approach to rebuilding the trust that we had lost as a result of the class action. And in hindsight, that is, I would call that today, and what we're building in the startup, is a trust architecture. We were building the architecture of trust through the sets of systems, the business processes, the checks, the audits, the balances, and all of the pieces that sat there. And the thing that I want to sort of leave with you, or one of the key things I want to articulate in this talk, is that trust is something that needs to be architected. And I want to sort of just bring that home a little bit. So as we have seen today and heard today with all the fantastic stories, all the technology providers, all the insights and amazing things people are doing with large language models, the thing that we need to pay attention to is our customers need to trust the products that we're offering them, and that trust is built up as the sum of all of the interactions that we have with that customer. Now I heard the guys from Judo Bank saying, hey, we actually pull back information so that there's a direct connection with the customer. That's a great business model, but I would bet the majority of us are not doing that. The majority of us are automating, streamlining, moving to chat windows, and so our touches are becoming increasingly digital, and we need to architect the trust because a mistake in delivering trust to an engagement with our customer is catastrophic, right? So we all have been through the Royal Commission. We've seen share price effects of some of those findings. And what's really hard when you're working in the financial services industry is that, the Royal Commission found some really sort of damning things. But when you look a step deeper, and we all know this here, is the majority of the people in these firms, in your firms and in the firms that I work with, are absolutely doing the right thing. And it's a small miss, or a structural problem that has an outsized effect on all of us. And we're embarrassed. We're embarrassed in front of our friends when we see these issues come out in the papers. And that's something that as you think about building and architecting trust, it's important to sort of build out as an organization, because it is those little things that get in the way, and you need to build that up and ensure that that doesn't happen. The next thing, though, is how do you build up trust? And the key thing that I've focused on in my career since I've come to Australia almost 20 years ago is the data ecosystem that is the building block for those customer engagements and those digital transactions. How do you ensure that the data ecosystem is built up and reflects the great business offerings that you can make with your customers, and reflects the great value that the organization creates and provides on an ongoing basis? And so the key, well, actually, I want to ask a question. How many people have heard the phrase digital twin? A couple of you, a few of you. A digital twin comes from the manufacturing sector, and it was sort of a big phrase about 5 years ago in the IoT space. And it was this idea that if you could instrument your manufacturing process, your industrial process well enough, you could get a digital perspective on how your business was running. And the thing that I think is interesting for a financial services firm is that a financial services firm at its core is a data business. Banks and insurers and superannuation funds were data businesses before the internet, before Google, before Facebook. You guys are the OGs of data businesses. And you would think you guys would be world-class at managing data. Based on my work, we're not. It's fundamentally true. But the thing to recognize here is that your data ecosystem today is the digital twin of your business. And that is actually an important thing to think about, because if your digital twin is not a strong reflection of the value that you add, the products you can offer, or even an understanding of what's actually going on, you're creating risk as you take advantage of large language models, as you're taking advantage of chatbots, as you're taking advantage of new product innovations. And that risk is the risk to the trust that you need to build up in the offering of the products that are created and delivered in the financial services sector. And the final thing I kind of want to do is sort of talk about how you sort of build the building blocks of data, architect trust on top, and whose responsibility and accountability that is. Because the thing that I've seen here in the room today is a real leaning on our tech providers to create the future of financial services. I've seen primarily CTOs, digital officers. I haven't seen very many business folks up here talking about how they're creating the future of financial services. And I think that's a gap. Because ultimately, if our digital twin is a reflection of our business, and we're architecting trust because we're offering trust products, it's the business teams that need to own that digital twin and trust architecture to deliver the trust products that financial services are. And if it's not the business teams driving this outcome, we're going to be creating risk for our business, we're going to be underserving our customers, and potentially we're going to be opening ourselves up for the front page papers and the Royal Commission type findings. The good news, though, is our risk officers, our chief information officers, our chief data officers, our CISOs, they're actually very good at providing us the tools we need to deliver the digital ecosystem, the data ecosystem, and the trust architecture that we need to be successful. But we need to view them as service providers that give us the tools. When I work with folks, it's the risk officer that can give us a huge amount of leverage when we need to build complex business cases on solving trust architecture and digital ecosystem challenges. So just bringing it together, trust architectures and digital twins need to be owned by the business. And the final thing I just want to talk about is how we can help. So like I said, I run two businesses. BizCubed has been delivering data operations, data engineering, and sitting between the technology teams and the business teams to really help build out the quality of that data ecosystem on an ongoing basis. And we do that not in a tech-first way, we do that in an operations-first way. And ultimately, it doesn't matter what the tech is. We heard people talking about monoliths, we heard people talking about creating the future state, we talked about cloud-first strategies, but ultimately, when you're building trust and engaging with the customer, you need to have access to the data that sits across your ecosystem, regardless if it's in your legacy. I'm working with folks who have mainframes, cloud, and mid-tier data, all sorts of stuff. And what we can do is we can build a consistent data operations layer. And the way we think about that, and actually the analogy from the Westpac CTO about turning boulders into pebbles was a really good one on describing how we operationalize data ecosystems, and by turning those pebbles and sort of being able to reconstitute. That's what BizCube does. If you're interested in that, come talk to us. And then my new company, Pix Global, is architecting global trust. We're doing that in collaboration with the UN and building new standards around how data is exchanged. So as you get your digital house in order, when you start to look to how you outcompete, how you verify, how you check, how you share information, we're building the global standards for that. So if you're interested in the trust architecture side of this conversation, come talk to me as well.